Thanks a lot. Can I just, sorry, do you know how to turn it off? Can everybody hear me? Yeah? Okay. Thanks so much. It's funny when I hear that 2,000 meetings thing in the introduction. Some people gasp, and then there's other people in the audience, their heads hang low. They start to add it up. They're like, oh, 3,000, 4,000, whatever, that kind of thing. Do me a favor, everybody stand up. Okay, let's see. Do me a favor, raise your hand if you love meetings. Like, put it way up there. Yes! In the back. Tell me why. Right there, I can. I meet people, yeah. You?
He's weird.
He's weird, right there, yeah.
I love structure.
I love structure. Good, well, we'll try and help you a little bit today. Do me a favor, raise your other hand if you have fallen asleep in a meeting. Right, and then I thought I'd have some fun today, and I say, put up both hands if you've fallen asleep in a Rotary meeting. Yeah? Here's the reality. According to BusinessInsider.com, there's more than $37 billion lost in the United States alone every year due to bad meetings. Do some of my bad MBA math, and I'll call that $1 trillion around the world. In a $100 trillion global economy, can you imagine that 1% of everything that we do is a bad meeting? Well, today, we're going to start to take a few bucks back and maybe put some things into your volunteering. It's going to help you out a little bit. Have a seat. Thank you so much. So I asked you if you love meetings, and I have to sort of take a moment there to say why do I love meetings. And there's 3 key reasons why I love meetings. Now, the first one is I believe that great meetings are the building blocks of great organizations. And if you can have a great organization, then you can serve your end user, your customer, your community around the world at the highest possible level. Today we're going to pick up a few tips, literally in the next 20 minutes or so, that are going to help you to improve your meetings, and then I know that's going to have a direct impact on the people that you serve. The second reason, if we want to challenge the biggest issues of our time, healthcare, the economy, climate change, we need to learn how to meet better. Anybody can get me to Ottawa right now? I want to fix up those parliamentary meetings right away. They're not leading us with a good example of how to have meetings, and they're not getting enough done. But what I know in here, especially when I've been meeting these great people across Rotary, is these people in this room will take things out of this meeting today, and they're going to go and influence some of the biggest issues of our time, and I get really excited about that. The third reason, honestly, when I look out to see, like here I see some people that are maybe retired, some people that are beginning, some people in the middle. I've worked for large organizations. And I've also been a volunteer on a board that maybe wasn't functioning at the highest possible level. I wish I'd had a session like this just to take a moment to step back and go, how can we run this meeting a little bit better? How can we have that kind of impact? And I know that today we're going to do that. And I know that when we do that, it's going to be like dropping a pebble in the pond. And the ripple effect is going to be felt throughout your next meeting, throughout your organization, and ultimately when we do this, we're going to influence your community at the highest possible level, and I really do believe this, and I'm going to say this, and I'll try and back it up when I'm done. I think that together, we can change the world one meeting at a time. Now I'm just going to bomb over here because my clicker's batteries are done there, so there you go. I'm going to move forward, and I'm going to go right here. Do me a favor, does anybody here have, I'm going to say where we're starting. You're looking at this little booklet. This little booklet, by the way, is available through meetingleadershipinc.com if you need it. If you like the session today and they'd like to experience sort of this sort of material, meetingleadershipinc.com, go to the resource section. You're going to see a thing called the 5-Day Meeting Leadership Challenge. You'll get a free copy of the book. There's also a teaching video per day. It won't be as in-depth as what we're doing today, but it's something just in case. I hope you enjoy it, and we'll see how that goes. It's based on the book that I wrote called The Meeting Leadership Solution. Okay. Does anybody here have a favorite hockey team?
Yes, Flames.
Flames! So you can say it out loud, you can admit it. Anybody else? There we go. Here's the reality. Here's the reality. The average NHL hockey team spends about $60 million a year on their players. If they work 2,000 hours a year like you and I do, a 1-hour meeting with them, $30,000. When they're shining up the golf clubs, what's the GM gritting his teeth about paying $30,000 for that meeting? This meeting here, if I look around the room and I add up what this one's worth, because you make $1,000 an hour, $2,000 an hour, we can get that going, right? This meeting here is worth $15,000, I can tell you right now, for the hour that we're here for this many people. So how do we turn this meeting from that perspective into something that's super valuable? I don't know which way you're going to connect today to make your meetings better. Some people really connect with the dollar side. Bring that to your next meeting and find the people in the room that want to connect with the dollar side. Let them add up the numbers. I'll talk about other ways that we want to inspire each other around meetings. So here's a quick fix for this truth that's in your booklet. We want to be able to add in the all-in compensation, right, which is what's the wage plus, and then the room costs. We got to get things going here, and the refreshments. Now normally I do these things over half-day sessions, full-day sessions, this kind of thing. So I'm not going to dwell on this area. This isn't a corporate setting, but I had a curiosity around this today. What is the opportunity cost? Can anybody explain to me what opportunity cost is? What's opportunity cost? Who can tell me? Sorry, can you say that nice and loud?
While you're doing this, you could be doing something else.
While you're doing this, you could be doing something else.
That makes you money.
That makes you money. There you go. I could be at a Rotary meeting, or I could be doing all these other things. When I hear the drive and the push and the things that you're trying to do here to invigorate the Rotary, this is one of your big challenges. You have to be able to present an opportunity cost that's a higher value to people, and we've already heard in the first session some of the key driving reasons that are going to do that. Now maybe that's going to be the thing that motivates somebody to have a better meeting when you're together. Okay. Do me a favor. I'd like you to go stand up right now. I want you to find one other person that you have not met. And I would like you to answer these two questions. Go ahead, stand up, find somebody, and have that conversation. Go. Have a seat. That'd be great. Thank you. All right. I so appreciate the engagement level. Did you hear the volume and the energy level in the room on that? Please take these questions back to your group and ask your questions there. We're going to hear some stuff here today that's going to be valuable, but take these questions back and have this conversation. It's going to be worthwhile. Let's hear some things. What happened over here? What was the biggest meeting challenge over here? Right there. Yep. What was yours?
Me?
Yep. Biggest one, and how'd you fix it?
Our biggest challenge right now is to change the structure of our meetings and to get from the traditionalist way to more to the Generation X or millennial way.
Thank you. We're moving from a traditionalist meeting more to Generation X or, what did you say? Or millennial type thing. I've already learned that in this room we have multi-levels of support within Rotary. I'm hearing this at these multi-levels, certainly around things like whether you're doing bylaws or this kind of stuff as well. And then I'm going to say also that the answer is in the room. So today I'm here for 20 minutes. It's not like we're going heavy duty on what we're doing. How did you solve that? What'd you do?
We're working on it.
We're working on it. Yeah. And so if we hear any suggestions, does anybody have suggestions about young people and how to get them into the structured meeting sort of thing from their end?
Have them run the meeting.
Have them run the meeting. Would that be a possibility?
That's what's happening.
That's what's happening? Yeah. And that's good. And I think this is that crossroads that we're at, right? We've sort of, and I hear this actually frequently as well from some Rotary leaders. We don't know what to do. We don't know what to do. We're not sure how to get that to happen. So we can't get enough of sort of these techniques like giving them a chance to run the meeting, getting their feedback about how the meeting goes. Yep.
I suggest too, if you're in a club, don't be afraid to reach out to the assistant governors, the past presidents in your club, and
Yep.
support at the district level as well.
And I think, I don't know if there are blog article writers in the district, for example. Is there somebody that could literally put together a top 10 that addresses this issue and post it somewhere so that people start to get access to not a lengthy thing, but something that's quick? Because we need to move quickly in our meetings. Fair enough? Right. What was the big one here?
We had I guess it's related. It was people not showing up for meetings,
People don't show up for meetings.
starting at time.
Can you kick somebody out for not showing up for a meeting? Oh, isn't that interesting? Right? Because we're in one organization and we hear yeses and nos. So someone said yes. Who said yes? What was the yes? And so you can say, and have you actually done that? So someone didn't show up and then there was enough there to, and other things? Right. Repeatedly, right? And I heard a no.
No, it's me.
Yep.
There's no attendance requirements. The club is free to do what they wish, though.
So it's on a per club basis that we can treat absenteeism.
Yeah.
So we hear some flexibility there. Is that fair enough? Right, and then that message goes out here and it goes out further. And we have obviously precedence on either side. And so that's sort of maybe some thoughts on some other ways. And I would suggest that the yeses and the nos hang out a bit. Because The Rotary, I'm just coming in. I'm literally, I'm just coming in Edmonton to join Rotary for the first time. I'm super proud. But I'm coming into the organization at this time wide-eyed with a bunch of stuff that I've heard about the organization, good and bad. And I've heard more good than bad, I can tell you. So that's why I'm coming in. But I'm excited about these issues because once they start to get dusted up, then more good stuff is what I'm looking forward to. How about up here? Any? Big problem? What was your problem and how'd you fix it?
Me?
Yep.
Our problem was challenges in meetings would be long-time members not being as friendly. Michelle talked about, going to meetings and everybody being wonderful and greeting you. Sometimes we come across members where, they come in, they go sit in the same seat they've sat for 30 years, they're the same golf buddies, they're curling buddies, and they don't engage in other conversations. So having our clubs be more intentional about being welcoming on purpose
Right.
would be great.
Sure. And by the way, we could be talking about a Rotary meeting or a work setting or wherever this is, right? Grumpy person in the same seat maybe isn't moving the same thing forward. Anybody have suggestions about how to engage people in this scenario? Yes?
We actually did this in our club meeting about 4 months ago, and it was Anthony's idea. I was the greeter that week, and it was awesome. We just had the table numbers in the hat. When we walked in, you had to take a table number, and that's what we stopped that meeting.
So here, right? So numbers. So let's move it around. So there's one kind of forced in a sense, right? In a sense. I'm actually really curious about people in meetings, and I often say, well, why are you here? It's an honest question. And in my work that I do, I tend to get down to that pretty quickly because otherwise then don't be here. And I don't mean to say that in a mean way because I think coming in from my perspective, I've also had a good piece of advice recently to say, wait a second, those folks that have contributed for those many decades, they've got something valuable to say and they've got a story to tell. So maybe there's a way to get them to help share their story or the good stuff that they believe in that starts to allow them to loosen a little bit, to come into a newer era when young people want to walk in the room and meet them and hear the best of what they can offer. That's my curiosity, but that's a process. And then what happens is we get limited in these meetings because we don't have the man hour. We don't have a human resource department to come in and spend the man hours that it's going to take to make that change. Don't change though, I've talked about this a lot, Blockbuster or Netflix. Take your pick, Rotary. Right? And I say that coming in as joining. I'm joining. I'm thrilled to be here. But down at the meeting level, for these people that deserve praise and accolades for all of the service that they have done, what is the way that we can get their wins surfacing? Get that communication out to let people know what they've done and why they paved road before us, and then allow that to come forward as well. Because the fatigue we can get rid of fast, I hope. Yeah, over here. Biggest meeting problem? How'd you fix it, sir? Right there. Yep.
We talked about meetings that go sideways with all kinds of side tracks.
Sidetracks. Yeah. Right? Can you fire a facilitator? Yeses? Right? I don't mean to say that. I say that provocatively. I don't mean to say that. I say, can we get someone a couple of hours of training to help them? And how can we help them to do that? And I've got a little thing I'm going to talk about in just a minute about how to maybe give a solution to that as well. Any others that I didn't pick up on? I can talk for hours and hours. I love this stuff. Yep.
What I got is like where I'm trying to run a meeting and everybody's talking or a few people are talking, throwing chairs to each other.
Yes?
We have that too.
Just put you on ignore.
Right.
And that one just drives me.
Yeah, I'll go back. I'll just say two parts to that pretty quickly. One is, why are you here? That would be just a question to maybe create a dialogue somehow. And then the other one I would often do in other sessions is if I get a chance, I often put the word ground rules just up on the board or on the agenda. Just ground rules. And the way I lead exercises there, I say, okay, we can say it for this meeting. What do you want to do with cell phones in this meeting? It's a question. Honest, it's a question. Okay, great. And that's for this meeting. Some people have family concerns or there's a reality, they need them there. It doesn't matter to me. In your meeting, what do you want to do with cell phones? It's a great ice-breaking kind of question because you'll hear the answers come back to that because that'll lead to the distraction conversation. The second thing is, what happens if there's a fight today in this meeting? And I hope there's not. I'll say two things you can put in your ground rules. One is one person speaks, we're going to make it about the issue and not about the person. There's 3 ground rules to get your ground rules started. Try some ground rules. See if you can collectively get them to contribute to the ground rules, as opposed to telling them what to do. Maybe there's a way they can do it. The other one when I hear those folks is, that we heard this already, maybe you can say, hey, let's rotate the chair. Let's give these people a chance to run the meeting prep the agenda, and come in and do that. Maybe that's another way to engage them. Not guaranteed, just things to try. Again, I could keep this conversation going. I'm going to kind of roll through to the next idea, but if anyone has any thoughts, please come and ask me afterwards as well. Here's a truth. Anybody ever walked out of the meeting and said that meeting should have been an email? Yeah? That's one of those things that happens, right? The reality is that we don't often know why we're meeting. And I'll actually, do me a favor, put your hand up in the air if you've ever been in a meeting and you didn't know why you were there. I mean, look, keep the hands in the air for a second. I've done this recently in rooms with engineers, bureaucrats, doctors. Same everywhere else. What? Don't ask me why the organization is suffering if you've got people going to meetings, they don't know why they're sitting in the room. Now, this is a real passion point for me, and if I think there's an original point of contribution that I make in this space, it's this. Whoops, I'll go here. I believe that you should be able to stop any meeting at any moment and connect that moment directly to your strategy. I believe this so strongly, I say it twice every time I say it. I believe that you should be able to stop any meeting at any moment and connect that moment directly to your strategy. We're in a Rotary meeting. What's the vision statement for Rotary?
We see a world.
Together, we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities and in ourselves.
What if that rolled off the tongue of everyone in your club? How do we do it? It's repetition. It's repetition, right? At the beginning of your next meeting, take a second, say the vision statement out loud. Have your meeting. Get to the end of the meeting. Ask if this meeting served the vision and moved the vision forward. If the meeting was an hour-long meeting about the gluten-free hot dog issue for the summer staff celebration, and unfortunately I say that from experience, it doesn't move big visions. You guys move mountains, right? And you've got a great, I love this. This is wonderful, right? Thank you. Love it when someone in the room gets it. By the way, 99% of leaders don't. Massive leadership opportunity, and that strat plan is well developed. So you can take any part of the strat plan, take a key objective. If you're having trouble with people not respecting each other, say one of our core Rotary values is respect. Let's state a value at the beginning of the meeting. Set the tone for the meeting and allow that to be there. I think it's a really, this is a game changer. It changes the way we do things, and it came out of an educator in Morinville, Alberta. I think that's a great, and I tell that to rooms all over, now going down to the States. Okay, here's the truth. Having a title doesn't mean you know how to run a meeting. Right? I think we might be able to agree about that. Here's my shaky title. I'm drunk on power. I'm the president-elect. Drunk on power. District governor. This is in the medical side, the chief of. Who's going to mess with the chief of? There's a lot of folks that are dying to get unstuck from the title to get some help. I just can't say enough of giving them some relief. Might be ego in 2 seconds, but help them to become better meeting leaders, because you know it's going to go better if they do. So don't let them get stuck in a title. How can we help them to do that? I think great meetings really start with you. And when I tell this story, for me anyway, where this kind of started, I can remember working for a corporate setting, back in the early 2000s, and I was a pretty grumpy guy. And the worst thing that I did as a grumpy guy is I would come home and I would complain a lot. Specifically, I complained about weekly updates meetings. I don't know if anyone's ever worked in the corporate area, but that's something that drove me bananas. And I can tell you right now, there's people going home complaining about Rotary meetings. So part of the work that I do is to save you from going home at night and complaining about your volunteer work, and actually fixing the meetings is what we're looking for, is what I'm hoping for you. Back in 2004, famous day for me after about a year and a half of ranting on and on to anybody that would listen, but the worst person I did that with was my wife. 2004, she looked at me in the kitchen one day and said, "Shut up." If I was smarter, I'd be doing this work 10 years ago, but I'm a little slow. Brings me to, that's part of the kernel of saying, wait a second, it doesn't matter if you're the leader or the follower. Great meetings start with you. Two guys who are talking to each other during our meeting, right? Great meetings start with you. Does anybody know the story of Viktor Frankl? Yes, please stand loud, proud, and tell us.
Viktor Frankl was a psychiatrist, and he was interned in Auschwitz. He wrote a book about his surviving Auschwitz, and that the difference between the people who did survive and did not survive, the ones who survived had very deep reason for surviving. They had a big why.
They had a big why. Thanks. I get to leave the front of the room. You can come up here and do the session. That was awesome. Viktor Frankl, thank you. I'm just going to pick up on one other part of this. 1 in 28 people made it out alive when he went into Auschwitz. When he goes in, people around him being beaten, starved, tortured, murdered. He made this discovery, and part of his discovery was this. In between stimulation and response, in between people around him being beaten, starved, tortured, murdered, and his response, there's a gap. And in that gap is the power to choose your response. And if you can choose your response, you can choose your freedom. That's a gift to yourself for life if you learn that one before you die. I'm trying to work on it. If you can get that attitude into your meetings, whether you are the leader or the follower, you're responsible too. It's not just up to the facilitator or the board chair or the president-elect or whatever, this kind of thing, right? Please. And by the way, bucket list book, read it once in your life. It's outstanding. Get it on your shelf. Okay, I'm not going to, this is normally an exercise that I do, and I'm going to describe it very briefly because I only have seconds here now to talk to you guys. Take these 3 questions back to your group if you want to, and have each other go in pairs and answer these questions one at a time. How do you act during a meeting? How do you want to act during a meeting? How are you going to get there? And I'm going to tell you in 10 minutes, you're going to get a behavioral reaction where people maybe who aren't as self-aware will gain a little bit of self-awareness. It's not as deep as going Myers-Briggs or DISC profiles. You can do deep personality work if you would like. But please, and these questions are in your booklet if you need them, so they're in there right now. Do that with the people in your meeting. Okay. Here's the other thing that I'm going to say for the meeting leaders that need help. There are a lot of good people in Rotary that know how to run great meetings. So when you go to them and you say, would you like to be a meeting mentor? And then like we heard, people are very busy. They run away screaming and you're saying, stop, wait a second. It's a 2-step process. The first step, and it's 2 meetings long. Can you get the mentor who's really good at running meetings, and now we have a new person running meetings and needs some help? Can the mentor be available for 2 meetings? The mentor will come, observe the first meeting, and then go for coffee with whoever ran the meeting, and immediately that person's going to get feedback on how to run a meeting, and hopefully they'll get better at it. Second meeting, the mentor is going to run the meeting. Then the person who's leading the meeting gets to sit off to the side and watch. 2 things happen. They get to model after really great facilitator behavior, and the other thing that I get told when I get brought in professionally is the senior leaders say, wow, that was great. I never get to watch my team. It's a gift to the leader, to themselves, to have the opportunity to not be in that mode where you're trying to do 2 things at once. So try that one time with those folks. See if that's the way to build capacity. What would happen in our Rotary districts if we had meeting mentors that we could go to? Hey, this meeting's not running great. Are you available? It's not going to take too long. Let's build capacity. Wouldn't it be neat if we had 1 mentor, 2 or 3? And what kind of influence would that have on young people who are hungry for these soft skills that we've heard so much about? Fair enough. Okay, let's move on. It's okay to be late for a meeting? Yeah? No?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. See, again, isn't that interesting? So we don't have a homogeneous answer. We have some balance. So maybe it's going to be on a per club basis. Is this fair enough?
Depends on the type of meeting.
Depends on the type of, could be a social meeting or this type of thing, and that there's no big deal there. Otherwise, what we're hearing is a frustration around, no, wait, somebody was late. I'm not going to sort of dwell on this given the reaction there. There is a possibility, around doing things as severe as kind of locking the door, which I've got a story about, I'm not going to dwell there. Or you can then, work in and have the flexibility that it needs to be accommodating to people. I'm not quite sure where the touch needs to be, but I'll leave that for you to kind of think about again, given the limited amount of time. Okay. Here's one. We're burning out our best people by sending them to too many daytime meetings. Now, I'm going to ask corporately for just a second, and then I'll spin it into Rotary as well. Raise your hand if you were in at least 1 meeting per week. Put your hand in the air if you were in at least 1. Keep it up. Keep your hand in the air if you were in at least 2 meetings per week. Now play along with me. Keep your hand in the air if you were in at least 3 meetings per week. Keep it up there. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. You're the winner.
I'm in sales.
You're in sales, right? I'll just comment on the corporate side. We are burning out our best people by doing this. And when the organizations do this, it's just out of control. What I'm going to say about Rotary meetings and what I'm going to say about volunteering that's related to this is we're actually burning out our volunteers by sending them to too many volunteer meetings, our best volunteers. We don't need another grumpy volunteer. So for the folks that are in your area that are doing too much and wearing that badge or whatever they wear and they complain about it, they actually have to reduce the number of meetings that they're in if that's possible. And I can't say enough about supporting them in the right way. They're going to disagree and they're going to say it's my thing or whatever. It's no good. We don't need angry volunteers. So if we're able to avoid that, let's do that. And I'm going to keep moving on here to see if have I got my 5 minutes right to the end? 5 minutes, thanks, okay. Great meetings are rare. So we know that there are some best practice clubs in your districts that are running really good meetings. Would anyone put their hand in the air proud to say we have a great meeting? Put your hands in the air so that other people can look at you and meet you. That's an honest thing. That's not the majority of the room. What we're seeing is there are people in here that are proud of their meetings that are running them well. That's a resource. Find them. Ask them for their top 3 suggestions. See what's cooking there. Spread that around your district if you can. Okay. There we go. The reality is we're suffering from post-meeting stress disorder. But there you go. There's a summary there, and I'm just going to take a minute here just to rip pretty quickly. I think the big thing, there's a numbers game. Some people like to be efficient. Some people like to be on time and this kind of thing. For me, I really like to hope that one of the areas, because a lot of it's not our pay and our work settings that's getting meetings to be better, and somehow we have some fatigue on our Rotary meetings, how can we dig into our inspiration to actually perhaps be accountable to that as a way to make the meetings better? Anybody know this guy? Terry Fox, 1980, loses a leg to cancer. He sets out to run a marathon a day across Canada. He did that 143 times. Has anybody ever been to the Terry Fox Memorial?
Yeah.
That's remarkable, right? I got to get out to Newfoundland, see where he put his leg in. Bucket list for me. Since he did that in 1980, more than $700 million has been raised for cancer research around the world. Terry Fox, for me, is a larger-than-life person that inspires me. When we start in here and we say, what inspires you? This is an easy question in your Rotary groups to improve your meetings. I've got 90 seconds for you to turn to your neighbor and tell them right now, very quickly, what inspires you? Go, go. Turn to your neighbor. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Does anybody, has anybody got one good story we can share? Yep, right there. What inspires you?
Well, the opportunity to get people into a better space, find their best selves, and to share that with other people so they find their best selves.
So that they find their best selves. Pretty clear. I'm going to help you with a little facilitator technique if you get a chance, and play along with me here. When someone gives an answer like that, we get it, but I'm like, oh, there's a story. First name of someone that this has happened with. We don't need to know the whole name. What's the first name?
Burnett.
What happened with Vernette?
She was a survivor of cancer and then had a number of things in her life that happened that other people would have been ground down by. You would never have known that to meet her. It was always about making other people come away feeling 100% better.
We now know the story of Vernette. And as a facilitator, that was just taking that one step further. One more question. Create a safe place for it. It's not psychiatry, right? But if there's a chance, and that back to getting those people engaged over in this meeting over here, get them at that level, and let's see if they're really in the game, or get them out of the room. I'm good either way, as long as they're doing their thing, right? Yeah, you're working on it. I got you. Okay. Okay. Great meeting start with you. Doesn't matter if you're the leader or the follower. I said at the beginning. Today, in the brief time that we're spending together, it's going to be like dropping a pebble in the pond. You'll take some things away from here today that's going to make your next meeting better. That's going to influence your club. It'll influence the district. And then we're going to hear about playgrounds getting built. And we're going to hear about things happening locally and all the good stuff that you can do. And honestly, together, I really do believe that we can change the world one meeting at a time. Thank you.